Hello again, Tone Deaf Monk. Let's you and I go on a journey. Mostly my journey, but come along with me. And this is my journey of DACs and sources and my discoveries. And the reason I'm shooting this video is basically maybe you can learn a little bit from what I learned and pass that along to you to help you make a decision if you're thinking about picking up a dongle or a DAC, and what direction might you take and what might be good for you. So let's start my journey. When I first started getting into more IEMs and kind of down this road. So I've always known that power is one of the components that can make or break your sound quality. And the quality of power, whether it be from car audio, you start off with a head unit and then you add like a 25 watt per channel amplifier, and then you go, wow, that sounds pretty good, and I can hear it clear and more, it sounds better. And it's okay if you don't understand some of the terminology, because that really, honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't play into it as much. If it sounds better, then it just sounds better. And then you get into more power, and then it blossoms from there, right? But it's, I think, more important about the quality of the power and the implementation it gets used. So quite easily, I knew that I was okay with, I'm looking for my phone, which I'm talking into, which is classic. And most phones now, since my last probably 2-3, don't have any more phone outputs, right? Those are gone. Days are gone. So now we're dongle or DAPS, or desktop systems, or some kind of hybrid. So since that my phone didn't have a output, I needed a dongle. And so when I first started my search, this was my very first dongle, and I still own it, and for very good reason. So this is called an E1DA SG3. It uses, I paid 100, I'm just going to tell you the prices that I paid for most of this gear is I bought used secondhand. USB-C, why I liked it, 2.5 balanced only out. So in my journey early on with IEMs, I started getting into balanced cables. I still have a schwackload of 3.5 single-ended, which I'm starting to use again, but most of the time I was going into 2.5 balanced out. So then I had bought a whole bunch of cables, MMCX, and after that 2-pin. What I like and I still love about this little DAC, if you're looking for a super clean resolving little dongle and you want balanced and you're good with balanced only, it's a great choice. I don't use it very much anymore, and the fact that I transitioned out of 2.5, I should probably sell it, pass it on to somebody else who can use it. Now that I've moved over to 4.4, but man, does it sound good. Sometimes it was too resolving, too clean, and on certain gear, it would bring out almost the harshness of if there was an old a bad recording or something. It was so clean. It was so truthful. That's a good word for this little dongle. I still own it. I still have it. It's a place in my heart. Then I moved to some of these things I'm going to talk about I don't have anymore, right, in my journey. HIP DAC 1 and 2. Really loved it. I knew Burr Brown from the audio world, right? I don't know how many CD players I sold with Burr Brown DA converters. That was the selling point. Because of its smoothness, and I think I paid about $200 for the 1 and 2, And a lot of times when you're picking up this gear, like I'll buy it used and I'll sell it for, you know, I'll take a little bit of a loss or sometimes even more, but that's okay. That's the journey. And I don't mind. I haven't felt bad about anything I've bought or resold for less. What I loved about it was its sound. It was smooth. I loved that big ass volume control. I loved that it looked like a little mini whiskey flask. Okay, there's something about that. Really did. Just kind of touched a place in my heart. The USB A input though, kind of not used very much. It was a bit of a pain in the ass. Though I ended up buying, you know, special cords and stuff that went from, you know, USB A to USB C out of your phone. So not that big, and they did that for longevity. So totally get that. HIP DAC 3 just came out, USB C, iFi. IE match built in. If you've seen any of my other videos and I talked about that, it's basically a little device that allows your amp to play at its maximum output capability, squeezing all the juice out of it, and it especially helps lower floor noise on very sensitive IEMs. It's a very cool piece. HIP DAC 3 actually has it built in. It's also, I heard, about $200. Very worthy to look at. Still using the Burr Brown DA. Very smooth. Could it have been more resolving? Probably. So then I found this little guy. And this was the Shanling UP5. Great little device. All the outputs. So then 3.5, 4.4, and 2.5 all in one go. Has a microphone, has an OLED screen, has a little easy menu, USB-C. Came with a little cool case, volume control wheel. It just checked all the buttons for me. Fantastic little device. Now using a Sabre DAC, an ES9219. And that's kind of important for me in the fact that I was getting to know the sound of different DACs and kind of their characteristics. You can't always go by that, but this is what I found on my observations and my journey. So I had also picked up where was it? The Qudelix, the 5K. Everyone raved about. I paid new. I bought that one for about $245. It was small. It was powerful. Had excellent sound. Bluetooth was standout, like phenomenal, like my entire house away. Still fantastic. I didn't, and why I got rid of that was only the 2.5 balanced. If they'd update that little thing and make a 4.4, it'd sell another million of them. The app is phenomenal. The EQ is phenomenal. Everything about that little guy was fantastic, but I was transitioning out of 2.5 and into 4.4. So away that went, and I found that I wasn't using the Bluetooth functionality anymore. I was predominantly using it for wired, but man, did that little thing sound fantastic. And that little guy, I didn't actually write that one down, what that DAC uses. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Also a Sabre DAC, ES9219s. So, and I really like the way how resolving and a clean, again, that little dongle DAC is. So definitely one of the gems, and you still hear tons of people talking about it for good reason. Okay, sold that. No longer had that. The UP5 for me was, when I had both, a step up in sound quality. So I definitely enjoyed the UP5 sound quality more. Interesting enough that they both also used the same DAC chip. But the Shanling was smoother, more refined sounding. So I was getting to know, okay, well, they have the same DAC chip, but they sound different. You know, and different gear, that when you hear somebody say they have a house sound, I think that is very true. So moving on, next little dongle I purchased was the Truthear SHIO. I like it a lot, very much. Again, what I like, USB-C, 4.4 and 3.5, had different color LEDs for the different modes, the plus and minus for volume control, checked all my boxes, and I think I paid about 120 Canadian for that one. Now, this was my first foray into serious Logic DAC chips, and I really liked what they sounded like, and I was getting a feel for that. So, doing some A/Bs between what an ES Saber and a different DAC chip in the ES DAC chips, it sounded a bit more warm, smoother, warmer, I would say, actually. What is it as good as sounding as the UP5? No, I didn't think so. But for its size and its portability and its power output, it was pretty darn good. So obviously, I still have it as well. And then I started getting into DAPS. Okay, now my first DAP I ever owned was the SONY NWA55. So I was transitioning out of some dongles, and I was getting into DAPS. Wanted to see if, in fact, it made a bigger difference going to a dedicated player than a dongle from my phone. And what I found was, indeed, that was the case. But I'm weird, and I'm picky, and I'm opinionated, and so I had my goods and bads. The proprietary connector on the Sony. Battery life killed me. It was small, but the text was so damn small, you can't make... my fat... I'm not making playlists on that thing. So, and the battery just really sucked. It wasn't that powerful either, and that's why that one sold to somebody else. I think I paid good money for that too. I paid $250 used for that little thing, and I think I sold it for $200 as well. So it was a good transition. Next up, I bought a Geshelli JNOG J2 AKM DAC that just had come out with the AKM 4493. So this was after Geshelli was geared up, ready to go with the J2 AKM fire, moved over to ESS, and then eventually when the supply came out, they just launched back to the AK 4493 DAC chip, and that's when I bought my J2. Back then it wasn't socketed, and I just shot a video on that and the brand new one that just came out. And then I also purchased a topping A90D. Now that is what's behind me on my desktop to this day. Only difference being is the Geshelli is now a socketed board, and it's using Burst and V6 V Vivid op amps, and I love that combination. There's also a XDUOO MT604. It's the tube high balanced hybrid amp, and that is also sitting on my desk. So that is my reference. The original J2 4493 and the topping A90D is to this day for me my reference. And that will play into a little bit. I'm going to talk about the 4499 DAC that just came out as well. Is it new and it's more expensive, but is it better? Is it right for you? Good question. So thank you for continuing on my journey here, right? Now, next up, next DAP was the Hiby R6 Gen. No, sorry. Let's rewind this a bit. Second real DAP was a Hiby R6 2020. Paid $550 for this ES9038. So now upgraded chip in the Sabre series. It was big. It was heavy. I love the weight and the build. It was industrial. I always pictured if somebody was going to mug me on a SkyTrain or something, I could whip it at them and like knock them out and shit like that. But why would I do that and throw away my DAC? All right. I don't know what the hell I was thinking there. I love the volume wheel. I only without the freaking case, because once you put a case on that thing with the volume wheel on the top, my fat sausage fingers can't change the freaking volume. No. I love the Hiby app. I love the power output of this. But what I noticed is this DAP didn't sound as good. It didn't sound as good to me as the Sony. There was something about the Sony that I liked better. And what was that? Hard to put my name on that. So sold that one. And then I bought the Hiby R6 Gen 3. Again, the Sabre DAC 9038. I love the powerful again. I didn't like the stupid wheel on the top. I didn't like how big and heavy it was. But I thought with this DAP, it was a bit lifeless. It was a bit soulless. Didn't have any character of its own in it. And again, it didn't have what that Sony had, which was something special. So that went away. The next up, I bought a iBASSO DX160. Oh man, I loved how light and powerful it was. Paid $250, crazy great deal for this one. Using a CS Cirrus Logic again, 43198 DAC chip. And since I really liked that in the SHIO, I had a good feeling I would like it, and I did. It had a very, very close sound signature. Very honest, very neutral, a slight hint of warmth, just a bit. What I didn't like about it is when I forgot that I'd plug it into a rapid charger, the USB-C would start to smoke every single time. And it didn't, I couldn't never get it to have USB DAC output, so I could run the USB out of that player into my Geshelli. It never worked. So everything else was awesome. The power, the sound, the battery, but the smoking USB-C made me get rid of that player fairly quick. Then I purchased a Hiby R6 Pro 2. Paid $750 for that one. Dual chip. Now this was other than my foray from the Geshelli in AKM. Now some people say that AKM DACs are warm sounding, but I don't think that's so much the case, and that's why I'm sharing this with you. I think the implementation of the DAC chips makes a very, very difference. For instance, the J2 Geshelli DAC is very clean, very resolving, and I don't think a hint of warmth at all. I think it's just very, very smooth. Now, this Hiby R6 Pro 2. First of all, there was a lot of hype about it, and I get caught up in that too. And it was the first one that was using this new dual chip on a system, where they broke out the controller chip, the AK4191 and the AK4499EX chip. And I love the sound of the Hiby R6 Pro 2. Probably the worst DAP I've ever owned usability wise. shit power. Absolutely. They even have a little thing on their webpage. Are you concerned about with power? Well, you should be, because it for a lot of IMs, even I just found it ran out of juice. And when it ran out of juice, it ran out of headroom. It ran out of the ability to properly push that speaker or the IM to its capability. And I just felt it wasn't getting what it should out of it. The battery is also horrible. Like, don't follow the hype of that player, honestly. It's probably one of the worst DAPs usability wise. Looks wise is fantastic, but because the sound is excellent, but and very clean, and again a very good implementation of the AKM chip. I don't think there's warmth in that. It's a very neutral sounding, great sounding DAC, but just those other things just killed it for me. Not a recommendation. Shanling M6 Pro, Shanling M6 Ultra. Fairly chunky. 3.5, 4.4, volume control wheel on the side where I think it's the best place. USB DAC and USB-C on the bottom, single memory card controls on the side. This is a well laid out, excellent sounding DAP. Highly recommend it. I know Kevin, a friend of mine, and another member of Canuck Audioholics also purchased one, and he's also got AK, Astle and Kern. He's got his M9, M6U. He's liking it as well, and good size. It is a bit thick, big battery, big power. Interesting. So again, you can't get caught up in what they post for power ratings, because some lie. Very, very, very smooth sounding, very open sounding. Is it colored in a little bit of a way? I don't think so. I think it's just incredibly smooth sounding player and DAC, so this one is using an AK 4493. Lo and behold, the same as my Geshelli original 4493, and I really, really love the sound of that DAC. So that was also kind of what I found. At the same time, I then also picked up a iBASSO DX90, that little player. My daughter has it borrowed. Probably never given it back. Using an ES9018 2 DAC. Very good, very resolving, very clean little DAC. Love it. I paid $40 bucks. That's what I paid. I couldn't go wrong. Battery was fat and exploding. I bought another one that was 3 times the size on AliExpress for $10. I got 2 of them. Replaceable batteries, you can just pop them out. What a fantastic little DAC. If you can find DAP, a DAC, digital audio player versus digital analog converter. Very clean, very resolving, big buttons, so small, no balanced out, so it's 3.5, doesn't matter to her. I set her up with either a mod cable or 3.5. She's my test guinea pig now. Right now she's listening to the ISN Neo 5 and loving that. So I get her impressions too. From an honest person who doesn't know anything about terminology or something. Is like, what do you think? And she's like, oh, well, the bass is really, it hits, maybe she listens to me. I don't know. Okay, so next up, Geshelli J2 AKM 4499, just launched. The newest and greatest DAC, and I also have Burson op amps in there. They came with Sparkos, 3602 op amps, but that ended up going to somewhere else. What did I think of the AK 4499 to the 4493, to be quite honest, and people are raving about that new Geshelli, and it competes with top tier DACs. I think it does too. Honestly, I think it's a lovely, awesome sounding DAC, but I prefer the 4493. There you go. Right, I kind of alluded to that too, without kind of, is it better? If you're looking for more of a true, incredibly smooth and velvety, they have that word for their air, and I think that one lives up to the name. But I just like the little bit of edginess that the 4493 version gives me. And to be very fair, I have paired the 4499 with the Geshelli E2 amp, and that combination, synergy-wise, fantastic. I love it. That's my sitting downstairs station on the with my chair where I do a lot of my listening. Upstairs is the topping A90D with the 4493 Geshelli. And I absolutely adore that combination as well, because it has to have synergy between the two for your chain, right? For all of it together. And those two stacks certainly do it for me. Now, that being said, what else did I pick up lately? Well, the last two purchases were the iBASSO DX170. So I love the CX1, the DX160, but with the smoking USB. The size of this little guy, right, is so wonderful and small and light and crazy powerful. Not nearly as powerful as this is the most powerful DAC I have ever listened to. Crazy power. Fantastic. The DX170 screen is off the hook. Fantastic clarity, bright, clean. This one is only, I think I paid $450 for this one, and it was a fantastic purchase. Again, using the Cirrus Logic chips, which I know that I love. I love the sound of Cirrus Logic chips. So it is between this and this now. This one is the Shanling M6 Ultra is smoother. It's more open. It's more spacious. But the DX170, the bass hits harder on the DX170, and again, it has a bit more of an edge to it that I actually like as well. So if I want something, if I'm picking an IM and I want it to mellow it out a bit, absolutely Shanling M6 Ultra. If I want to give it a little bit more of an edge, a little bit more grunge, the DX170 is my go-to. And again, love this volume control knob on the side. The control buttons are on the side. The 4.4 and the 3.5 is on the bottom of this one versus the top of the Shanling. And the USB-C is on the top. So this is a perfect carry device. This is more of a great home device that I also then hook up to my different stacks, whether it be the Geshellis or the last beast I'm going to talk about is this thing. This is the XDUOO XDUOO5 Pro brick. You want to see a difference, right? This thing is massive and heavy, and I love it. Huge battery, 2 amps of power, 2 milliwatts of power. Ooh, was that 90? Gotta love that screen on the front and the top. Again, full-size jack for headphones, 4.4 on the front, replaceable DAC chips, replaceable op amps, and that's where my Sparkos SS3602s went into this, barely, but they managed to go into the bottom right there, and that is incredibly clean and resolving DAC. So my final word of advice is just don't get caught up in the hype. Remember, some YouTubers, right, get paid to hype these products and build up the excitement, so that you think this thing is the greatest thing since sliced bread came out. But in reality, I mean, they're there to push the products, and that's what their job is, and they get paid. They get sent all this gear. Where I'm not like that. I buy most of my stuff, and I buy most of my gear used or secondhand or traded to get to where I am right now. This is not what I do for a job. This is what I do to try and help the community. That's what I do this for. So keep that in mind when you're seeing reviews and reading reviews about gear. And again, the best advice I can give you is figure out your budget. And once you have your budget, then you figure out kind of what kind of sound signature you're going for and your needs, right? Are you going to be happy with using a dongle and driving it off of your phone, and or do you want something dedicated with a DAP? Or do you primarily just sit in a spot and you're willing to, sit down and do your listening at a certain area? And those are the things that you need to pay attention to. And then once you do, you can kind of narrow down what you're looking for. And then, again, don't get caught up too much about different DAP chips. Just know that maybe there is some differences in generalization. ESS is going to be more neutral, linear, you might say clean sounding, and AKMs are typically known for a little bit smoother, a little bit maybe more warmer, and again, it really depends on the implementation of the chip more than the chip itself. And don't be afraid of jumping into Burr Brown, into the HIP DACs, or the Cirrus Logic chips, because they're both, everyone's making excellent things, and away you go. So if I wanted to pair something, and I'm summing this all up, okay? So when you're picking a DAC or a DAP or a dongle, some of the thought process you need to do is, what kind of sound signature are you trying to get? And if you're trying to go for like a super clean Hiby with the ESS DACs, then you're going to get that. Or if you're going to do the XDUOO5, and this one has replaceable DACs, which is beautiful, ESS, AKM, Roam, they're coming out with an R2R as well. But the extra DAC chips are like $200, so they're not cheap either. But if you were going to switch to a dongle, you want something super clean, and you're going to do a 2.5, E1DA is my rec. If you wanted to go something super small, 4.4 and 3.5, very good sounding, not too expensive. Best choice that I think, my recommendation is the Truthear SHIO DAC. If you want something better sounding, you're willing to pay a little bit more, I would look at the Shanling UP5, and the UA5 is I think the version that's took over this, with a nicer form factor as well. So that red one with the gold volume control, super awesome. For entry level DAPS, highly recommend the iBASSO DX160. Fantastic. If you're going to pay, I think, double that, then you can, my recommendation is the Shanling M6 Ultra. I think it's also smoother sounding. If you're looking for that to smooth out I would match this up with a planar that I wanted to tone down a bit, to give it a more warmer sound. And then at $1,000, it's this bad boy that is kind of like the ultimate dongle, right? Desktop / portability. That's also modular. So could be your last piece if you invest into that. And finally, why would you buy a desktop stack? Why would you buy? I think the Geshelli is, for value-wise, cannot be touched. Absolutely. There's other stuff out there that I just haven't tried, the shit stuff, other topping things, but that combination worked for me. If you have the space, and there's nothing with the full power, like the topping A90D has some serious crazy juice as well. So does the XDUOO Pro. So does that little Geshelli E2 amp and all their amps. Very powerful. The more juice you can put into something, you're going to find that you're going to get a bigger stage. You're going to find that you'll hear more details. It will come out cleaner. Your separation between instruments sounds like it breathes more. That you can pick out the guitar on the left and they're lower, and then there's somebody shaking some tambourine up top to your right, and they're closer to you. That's the nuances, the small details you can pick up as you increase your sources and your DACs and your gear. So to summarize, if you're just starting out, dongles are great. A great way to start off and give you some more power. You don't have to go super crazy. $100 for this Truthear SHIO is a fantastic buy. If you're getting into a DAP now, yes, you're going to get better sound than a dongle. That is for sure. And, like the DX160 is a great way to go. And as you're getting more serious about it in your DAPs, Shanling is a good way to go, in my opinion, for value. I'm not a big fan of the latest Hiby, unfortunately. Just because of where they put stuff, and it's just not user friendly. Kind of trumps over the sound quality if you don't don't enjoy using it. So that's it for today for me. I hope I've shared a bit more of my journey, and it helps you, on yours, of what you might want to do. And where you might want to put your money. Is it worth upgrading to a dongle firstly? Yes, it is. Is it worth upgrading to a dedicated DAC or a dedicated DAP? Yes. Is it worth upgrading to a desktop stack, even if you're listening to IMs? Yes. Yes, it does. It makes that much of a difference. Do I need to worry about what chip is in there? Not so much as knowing what you're going to get out of your, what you're trying to get out, right? If you want something super analytical and clean, generalization of that, in my opinion and my observations, whereas the ES DACs are probably more neutral, more squeaky clean, more, I wouldn't say detail oriented, I would really just say uncolored. Not really a house sound so much. Why I've also gotten rid of gear is because of that, and it didn't have what I was looking for. To get into Cirrus Logic DAC chips, I think it's a great happy medium between the ES and the AKM, which I find in different implementations could sound a little warmer. Exactly into that, or smoother, I should say, not so much warmer or colored. And a great version of that is into the M6 Ultra and into the new Geshelli 4499 if I wanted something buttery, meltable, like just fantastic, smooth. But if you want something with a little bit more edge, you don't need to spend the extra. The 4493 just sounds fantastic. And that's kind of my takeaway point. You don't have to spend so much money. You just need to kind of, if hopefully you can narrow it down to what kind of sound signature you're looking for, and then kind of almost move into a house sound, whether it be, I find the Shanling stuffs very smooth and great sounding. I find the iBASSOs and the Cirrus Logic stuffs excellent value for money, and not as warm, and just a hint of coloration in a really good way. And then again, I find in the ESS, brutally honest, very resolving. But that has been my observations. And thank you for letting me share it with you, and I hope it helps you. This is the Tone Deaf Monk, and I'm out for now.